Okay, I'm gonna be making a tier list for this the Atlantean City overused meta. So this won't be including Ubers like Mutagon or Metronet or Cephalops or Ursul, which are currently the four Ubers Lumians. So I won't include those in the rankings and things like Vesperatu, which would generally get a pretty good boost in viability from something like Mutagon being around. Like it won't affect its ranking on this tier list. And so I think it should give you a pretty good general understanding of what's good and what's not so good in this meta. And let me know if you generally agree or disagree with my tier list and if you think any Lumion should be ranked higher or lower. But also take into consideration that my opinion is clearly better than yours. And so my tier list is going to be way more accurate. Yeah, that was not sarcastic at all. Okay. I'll start off. I just go in order from here with the fully evolved Lumion. So, Valkyrie, it's good breaker. Let's see. It's pretty good. Like breaking fat, but it's a bit on like the slower end. You could put like maybe it's good like A tier ish, something like that. Uh, Magnify like right with the shells. Shells help Valkyrie out a bit. You can go like magnify up, and then you get like a +2 raging howl with the plain shell, and then you can bop stuff like Maomurk or Metatoad, and you can also chunk Sedimars and stuff like that natural already. So you do a pretty good job of wall breaking with Valkyrie. So I'll give it a pretty good A tier. Vesperatu, this Lumion, because of T-Clips, I'll just go put this in here. Because of T-Clips, Vesperatu is not like the most viable. It's like it's usable, but it's kind of hard to justify using Vesperatu right now, especially because T-Clips basically just completely hard walls it. Put T-Clips in S T-Clips. I'll just put T-Clips in S tier for now. Yes, it's kind of hard to justify actually using Vesperatu. I'll stick it kind of in like B plus here. It doesn't have like super concrete defensive utility. Its speed tier means it can revenge kill threats like Valkyrie and so, but like really defensively it's only helping versus stuff like Metatoad, and then offensively you just get completely sat on by T-Clips, and like if you're sharpened, then Tundralin can also just kind of sit on you, and Barblast. You can break through Barblast with Sharpen, but then Tundralin's also using that really hurts Vesperatu a lot as well. So I was putting it in B plus. It's kind of usable, but it's not like the greatest. Um, Himber's okay. I'll put probably maybe similar level as Vesperatu. Yeah, but yeah, Himmer's maybe on like a similar level to Vesp, or maybe you can put it slightly better. I'll just put it like in front of Vesp. It's maybe slightly better. Yeah, it's like similar-ish. Himber's just kind of yeah, because there's Tundralin, and then Tundralin also just kind of sits on Himber. Yeah, so it's like what's really nice about Tundralin is it does like kind of invalidate a lot of physical attackers. So there's Tundralin doing that for you. What else? Duskit is you know what Duskit does. Put like I'll put Duskit like B tier, I guess. It can peace of mind. It can possibly break through T clips. You can kind of peace of mind, maybe get through it. You do have difficulty breaking through T clips, and fatter like things like Oxydrake can also sit on you pretty well. So it's kind of just a meh Lumion. So I'll put it in B. Ikazune. Ika's maybe a bit better than Duskit. I'll probably also put it in like B plus. You can run speciality boots on it. A lot of people do that, but then you just kind of struggle to break things. Ikazune is like walled by Ellie, Mawa. Venolin does pretty well against, especially with like Mud Spatter. Sedimars can kind of do it, but you can kind of you can trade like Ika for damage on those, but Valkyrie generally does this wall breaking job better. So like Ikazune just has like the ability to immediately threaten out Stratosaur on certain hyper offense teams if you don't want it like getting a gust off. But besides that, it's probably kind of even with like Vesperatu, Himber in terms of its ability to be used. Proto, Proto's also it's kind of Proto doesn't really break much. It's like walled by so many different things. Like Chartiki is pretty good. Maomurk sits on it well. Sedimar sits on it. Eliguana sits on it. So there's a lot of things that can kind of sit on Protogon, but it does what it does have going for it is that it's like a fast metal type, and so it's able to deal with T-clips pretty well. Especially, you could even run secret ability if you want to like basically wall T-clips. You can revenge kill stuff like Valkyrie. So the speed tier is something for it. Maybe I'll just put it at the top of B plus. It's probably better than like Vesperatu, Himber, and Ikazune. Mutagon and Metro, I won't rank because they're Ubers. Zulong, okay. Zulong's probably just a bit better than Proto. Its coverage, I think, with the ancient coverage is good. It's just more threatening offensively because Proto can kind of get walled by. Oh, there's Metatoad as well. It's another thing that can sit on Protogon, and Metatoad's quite good right now as well. So that's another thing that Zulong has going for it with Elemental Burst. It's able to at least chunk Metatoad a bit. It can chunk Chartiki a bit with Elemental Burst as well. So it's basically just a bit better than Proto. It's just not as good versus T-Clips, but it kind of has like the same role as like a fast ranged attacker. And its coverage is just a bit better in this meta. Umbra is kind of bad. I don't know, I'll just put Umbra down here. And Luxor, maybe I'll just put a tier above. I mean, maybe you don't even really need to focus too much on the lower rank stuff that I'm going to put here. You guys, they're mostly just not that great. Cinemoth, like same tier as Luxor. Okay, Avitross. Avi's okay. Tundralin is a problem for it. Himber's a problem for it. Ellie's kind of probably can run like Body Slam, hit Ellie. See, it has those things that are kind of problematic. I'll put it in the same tier as like Dusket. Let's see, we got Swolder here. Swolder with Brawn Boost can actually be usable. I think it's kind of actually somewhat scary offensively. I'll put it maybe here, low B plus. Maybe it's still just B, but it's actually pretty scary with like Brawn Boost. So you can smack all teams actually with Swolder if you run like Brawn Boost Mega Punch, and you can maybe break through Tundra. Yeah, Florant here. Florant, I'll put it in C plus. My opinion has bit more usable than this stuff, but it's not really great. Terrafly, I'll put like actually Terrafly. Okay, it does have like good coverage and provoke, so you can like with rough up you can chunk things like Stratosaur and Tundralin, and then with Baneful you can maybe chunk a Bar Blast, and then with provoke you can stop all of those defensive answers from healing. It's just the problem with Terrafly is forcing those switches in the first place. Like you can kind of scare out T-Clips once, but you're getting basically 2-hit KO'd by Raging Howl. Valkyrie kind of destroys you. Zulong smacks you. Proto, I guess you can. No, you probably get smacked by Proto as well. You can scare out Vest. Vest isn't that great, yeah. I'll just put Terrafly. I'll put it in B as well. I'll reserve B minus for things just slightly better than Florant. Seer Knight's an interesting one. Seer Knight gets Barbs. I think Seer Knight, I'll put it in A tier. Kind of next to Valkyrie. It's great because it has like Barbs, so Barbs are pretty important in this meta. You can do pretty well versus T-Clips. You're running like very clever Amulet, you can sit on that well. You do a pretty good job getting Barbs up. I mean, you have things like, it's really like Krakaloa, Shade Pearl, Robust, Chartiki, Taushino somewhat, but Taushino is kind of meh right now as well. So there's that. And so I think Seer Knight's pretty good at getting Barbs up and strong offensively. Like the main swap in the Seer Knight is something like Barb Blast, then you can capitalize on that by setting Barbs. Next, I'll do Ragoon, or this is Seti Mars. I'll just put the Seti. In my opinion, Seti Mars wasn't like that great, but now I think it's gotten a bit better. Mostly because of things like Metatoad and Pheroglyph are actually kind of like rising up a bit in the meta right now. And Seti Mars is one of the few things that can actually deal with those things. So I'll put it in A minus next to Zulong just because it's actually one of the better answers to Pheroglyph and Metatoad, and it's hard to find that really anywhere else besides like Vesperatu. So yeah, so Seti Mars has some use over something like a Malmurk that way. Just grab Chartiki. Chart's also very good. I could probably even put Chart in A plus here. It's just very versatile. It can it can do a lot of things with like mainly as like Shade Pearl burn up. You can get rid of Seer Barb, so it's good for that. Yeah, Fire Plant type. It's pretty good. You are pretty good as like a Tyrex check, especially like that. Some people will run Chomp Tyrex now, so if they break like your Shade Pearl first, then that can break through the Chartiki, but you're generally a pretty good answer to that. With Muck Blast, a lot of things don't really want to swap into. Only like poison types really want to take a Muck Blast. So it's like Bar Blast and I Swolder here. But besides that, chart is quite strong. So I'll put it in A plus. I think it's a bit ahead of Falcon Seer Knight. It's really easy to slap onto a team. Ragoon's kind of interesting. I'll put it in B minus. Ragoon's mostly just usable versus stall teams. Because versus balance or offense teams, it's not really worth the team slot, but against a stall team, getting rid of the items can help you break. So that's one thing that Ragoon does, maybe a bit more usable than something like Florent. So I'll put it in B minus. Borok also has like the Tundralin problem, where Tundralin sits on it. I'll keep it in B plus as well. Uh, yeah, because it's just kind of slow. It's besides Tundra, it's okay offensively, but it still this problem's kind of slow. So you can run like speciality boots, but that's really easy to pivot around it. Wintrix is another really good mon in this meta, and so that can also kind of just sit on board. Yeah. Ellie, honestly, I'll probably put like Ellie a bit below Seti. Ellie's harder to fit on it. Do I put Ellie in the same tier as Seti or below? Ice has pivot, flash, and flee Taze, and that's good for it. But at the same time, I'll put it in the same tier. I'll probably just put every ranged wall here in the same tier. They do similar things. You just kind of choose which one based off the team. Okay. Gas stroke. Well, that's a fun one. I'll probably just put C plus as well. Florent. Yeah. Gas stroke. I mean, I used it and it's been Eats tournament. It did some stuff. Yeah. I mean, you got stratagem now, so you can actually threaten out poison types. That's good for it. You're like actually incredibly fast. So you can use some return to sender stuff with it. It's like you can do okay at dealing with ranged walls, but it just has 0 physical bulk and yeah, so that kind of hurts it. Yeah. And pure plant typing isn't that great. Let's see, I'll go Wiki. I'll just slap all these plant types kind of in the same tier. Yeah, Wiki is it has a lot of like utility moves, so it's okay for that, but it's really not much of a reason to use it. It doesn't really hardwall that much. Shachi, I'll put Shachi in B minus, I guess, yeah. I think Shachi's kind of has problem now that T-Clips has Dark Surge. It does really well against it. There's Seer Knight that kind of sits on it. Oxydrake can sit on it, and then Shachi's just so slow and frail. It's really hard to get in. And then now with all of these Lumians, the reward of bringing it in isn't even that much when you have Lumians that can like actually sit on it pretty well now. So yeah, I'm gonna put Shachi basically in the same tier as Goon, kind of matchup dependent. Your Soul is Uber's Vent, kind of bad right now. I'll put it in C. Plant types are better than Vent. Revenine. Rev is pretty good as a revenge killer. Works pretty well in some hyper offense teams. Let's see. I'll put in A maybe actually. Well, I think Revenine. Yeah, Revenine's been doing pretty well this meta, especially with like a lot of people running very smart speciality boots. So you do really well as you fit the role of a revenge killer very well. So I'll put Revenine in A tier for that. Yeah, I'd probably it's on like a similar level as Valkyrie and Seer Knight. Because the Vengeance ability is just so good. Oh, Eruption's like one of my favorite mons right now. Because it actually like it just magnifies.
Hey, we got to get you geared up, super fan.
Okay. It just magnifies and kind of breaks through everything. And so for that, yeah, it's pretty good. That ad just scared me. Oh my. Okay. Yeah, it can magnify and break through basically everything with like Flame Shell. There's like almost no swap-ins. You got things like Akalos and Bezel do. But besides that, Eruptodon really kind of just smack. Oh, and Infernex, I guess. But like besides those, Eruptodon's a pretty good wall breaker with Mudslide. Now you can also remove hazards well. It's better earth coverage. I'm gonna put it in A minus just because it's such a strong wall breaker. Krakaloa, I don't know, I'll put this one in B minus as well. It's you can use it on some stall teams as like Seer Knight Barb's removal, and you work as like Hunter Answer and like Protagon, I guess, and Revenine. You can do there's a couple things you do, but it's just hard to justify using Krakaloa over something like Chartiki. Uh, Vocaloa, yes. I'll probably also just put Vocaloa in A minus. It's a solid mon, and yeah, that's about it. Just it's a solid mon. It can brawn boost and break through stuff, kind of in a similar position to Eruptidon. It's just a bit faster, so that helps it out over Eruptidon. But people like I use Flame Pearl Tundralin a lot to try and answer this. But the addition of Blaze Punch is makes Vocaloa more consistent. So now you can run like better fire coverage, and so that allows you to break through said Tundralin and Stratosaur. What else? Let's go with Obsy is next. Obsy is Obsy's kind of it's probably put a B plus, I guess. Yeah. With Body Crash, you can run like Body Crash Burrow. You do pretty well. There's a lot of things. Usually, Tundralin is kind of the preferred melee wall, but Obsy, I guess, the Obsy's ancient typing gives it some advantages over Tundralin. So that's why I'll put Tundralin, or I'll put Obsy in B plus, and probably put like Tundralin in A or A minus. Yeah, probably put Tundralin in A just because of how much it walls. Okay, I'll go with Luminex. Lumi's kind of fallen off a bit because it used to be always just be like S tier, but then now the pivot isn't really that great. You got Dark Surge T-Clips that does very well against it. Chartiki does well against it. Barblast does well against it. So I'll probably just I'll put a B plus tier as well. I'm gonna have like a stacked B plus tier, but these are all the kind of like usable Lumians, but they're not like as great as some of the other stuff. Yeah. So like Lumi's still definitely usable, but it's not as good as it used to be. Trumbull, I don't even know what this one does anymore. I've put like C plus or yeah, because now you got stuff like Tundralin that just kind of sits on it, and yeah, it just doesn't do that much. Let's put C plus. Icicle. Oops, I just got Gobademic. I'll just grab a couple things out. Okay. Icicle. I don't know. I'll keep Icicle and I'll put it in C plus as well. Gobademic is very good because of Barbs. It's basically like the entire like hyper offense team style. Just put it in A. Similar tier to Seer Knight. Barbs are just so good, and they really help hyper offense break through teams. Mewtwo. I don't know. I'll keep Mewtwo B minus here too. It's just a strong wall breaker, but there's a lot of metal types and stuff that kind of sits on it. Tyrex does well. I mean, you can like Peace of Mind, you can break through stuff. Actually, I'll put it in B. You're better than stuff like Shotchi at wall breaking, I guess. Yeah, I'll put Mewtwo in B tier. Pheroglyph is another quite good mon right now. Because really, if they're not running like Sedimars or Vesperatu, you basically smack everything. T-Clips set up on Chartiki, set up on Dark Surge. Your good answer to, well, not like exactly answer, but like your one-time swap into Valkyrie, threaten that out. Boulder Blasted, smacked, Boulder Blasted, smacked. Like the only answer, Boulder Blasted, Dark Surge, Boulder Blasted, Boulder Blasted. You got speed like Volcaloa, kind of set up on this Boulder Blasted just because it's range defense. One of the other answers, Himber can kind of check it, but Boulder Blasted, Flabbergasted. I'm good at saying things. Yeah, heck yeah. So I think I'll put Ferroglyph in A tier. It's just so threatening. Like if they don't have a Sedimars or Vesperatu, you can basically just sweep. Garbantis is garbage. I'll put B minus, but yeah, with how much usage Stratosaur gets, it's just kind of yeah, not much of a reason to use it over other stuff. But you can still serve as a fast ground type physical wall. You do some stuff. Here is the boy Stratosaur. I'll put Stratosaurus Actually, I'd probably put Strat in A plus. That hurts. The Stratos still is like it gets magnified, it gets smelt. It's like one of the best teak answers. I'll just put it in A plus just because. Yeah, it has so much utility. So I'll put Stratosaur in A plus. It's basically the best T-Clips answer right now because it's like the only T-Clips answer that doesn't need Amulet for recovery. So I'll just put it there. Yeah, your good Barbs removal with Gust, you do pretty well versus like Gobademic. Magnify is pretty scary. You're good Metal type, so you can deal with stuff like Cosmere, especially now that you have Magnify, you can deal with like Cosmere Cracked, since you can actually not be setup fodder now. So nice, yeah. Stratosaur has a lot of things going for it now. I'll put it in A plus. Let's see what next. Cyborg. I'll put Cyborg in probably. That's another B plus tier mod, I think. It has tank. It's a T-Clips answer, so that's something. But it just soaks up the amulet slot. But it's also not bad with like provoke and power focus. You can break through fat teams actually with Cyborg. It's kind of hard to deal with Cyborg since you can kind of provoke and power focus your way through Stratosaur since you resist both of its stabs. Chartique, you can Muck Blast, you sit on Teak. You can kind of Muck Blast basically everything else as well. So you can provoke a Bar Blast and sit on that. So I'll give it B plus. It's usable, it just soaks up the amulet slot though. It's like 4 times weak to ground, it's weak to fire, weak to electric. So that's like a couple weaknesses that aren't that great for it. Let's see, what else do we got here? Ooh, Tyrex, yeah. Tyrex is another great mod. I'll put Tyrex A plus tier, I think. Or S. I think I can even put Tyrex. Do I put Tyrex in S tier or A plus? I'll put it in A plus. Yeah, Tyrex is just so good. I'll put it in A plus. Yeah. It can kind of just sharpen, especially with like Chomp set. You can smack plant types like Chartikia and Malamurk. So that's something going for Tyrex. You're a pretty good T-Clips answer with Amulet, and you also deal with threats like Wintrix, which I'm probably going to put in S tier, actually. Let me just grab Wintrix and slap it into S tier. So Wintrix is just so good. Yeah. Wintrix just kind of does everything. It has like all the coverage ever. With Wise, you don't even need the coverage, so you can run Spatter for Seer Knight if your team really cares about that, but otherwise you can just run like Frostbeam or Brain Freeze to hit Mind types, and then Provoke, Peace of Mind, Perch. It's really just very hard to deal with, and it's just so strong. With Wise, you basically have no resists besides like Seer Knight and Oculos. And so it's like Wintrix and Zephalin are the only reason that Oculos even has some reason to be used. Munch Wheel, I'll just slap this mon in B minus. Oops, that's not Munch Wheel. Yeah, I'll slap Munch Wheel in B minus. Gardrone, I'll just slap it in C plus. Not there. Not much of a reason to use this over Valkyrie. Munch Wheel's also just kind of meh. Hunder's okay. Mr. Flincher, I'll put it A minus. It's a fast metal type, although it doesn't even use metal type moves because you don't get a metal type move boosted by Power Jaw. So, but it just has great coverage and it's fast and pretty strong with Power Jaw. Terraclaw, put this one in B minus as well. You can use it if you want like a T-Clips answer, Pheroglyph, and Deladrix answer. You kind of get that 3-in-1 roll compression, but usually you can just run 2 Loomians instead of that and it'll do better. I used it once in a team where it fit, but it's pretty specific. Yeah. There's not much of a reason to use it. Totob. You got Barter Boots. That's something going for it. I'll put it in A minus with the rest. Bar Blast, Cosmere, those kind of hurt its usage. And Pheroglyph. Pheroglyph kind of gets smacked by Jungle Jitsu, Obsi, but it's a physical attacker that can break through Tundralin. But Tundralin is often accompanied by Bar Blast, and that poses a problem to Totob. You can Scarf Barter it, but that's basically all you can do to Bar Blast ever. So I'll put it in A minus. Infernex. I'll put Infernex in B plus. In my opinion, Infernex isn't really that great. It doesn't have like super concrete defensive utility. It's smacked by T-clips. You can kind of do well against wind tricks, but with peace of mind, it's kind of iffy. Chartique, you can do well versus Tyrix, kind of earthquakes you. You can kind of deal with Stratosaur, but there's other stuff that deals with Strat. You get smacked by Falk, you don't have great physical bulk. You can do okay against Revenine. This thing kind of just sets barbs up anyway. Pheroglyph, Peace of Mind's through you. Zulong, Elemental Burst. This thing absolutely sits on you. Flash and Flee. You can do okay against Raptidon, but there's just so many things that you don't really deal with, and so I think it's kind of hard to fit Infernex on certain teams. So I'll just put it in B plus tier. Dorago, this is just kind of a bad barb setter. I'll just put it in B minus. Malwork. I'll just put it in A minus with the rest of these other two ranged walls here. You can kind of just use one of these depending on what your team needs, but you're usually only using one of these on like a stall team. But so I'll put them in A minus because you just kind of pick and choose depending on the team. Ellie will usually be used more on like a balanced team, and then you can kind of choose between Seti Mars or Malmer for a stall team. Seti Mars if you need like the Pheroglyph and Metatoad answer. Malmer if you just want to be a bit more secure versus like Valkyrie. So yeah. Metatoad, and I'm talking about Metatoad. Probably same tier as Pheroglyph. I think both these mind types are very scary. I'll put them in A. You just kind of smack a lot of things with your coverage. With like Mega Punch, you're now hitting Oxydrake, so that's something a lot of people have been running now. Because being walled by that wasn't great. And you also hit other steel types like Tyrex, so that's also good for you. I think it's a solid A tier. Where's Cephalops is Uber. Put these like so. Garlash. Oh, I skipped over Blowtox. Rest in peace, Blowtox. You're just basically a worse Barblast. There's not much of a reason to use you. Garlash. Put it next to Hunder. Probably kind of similar. Garlash is quite usable. You also have like Barter Scarf, so you can try and cripple stuff like Barblast, which main swap in. You got Tundralin too. But with Provoke, you can also try and chip down Barblast and Tundralin. So that's something going for Garlash. I think it's better than Hunder, but it's probably still similar tier. So I'll just kind of keep it ahead of it. Most of the order of things don't matter. It's just a few things like Garlash in front of Hunder. Arapago has like 0 energy. Its coverage it has good coverage, but yeah, I'll, I'll just keep B minus. Or yeah, the problem is really just its energy, and that it's kind of weak in general too. So like even with like a Dark Surge, you can't even hit Monomer card. Maybe I can put it B tier. I'll keep it B minus. I'll find something else to put in B tier. Skellic, you get Drudge. You're kind of annoying. You have yeah. I'll put it B minus as well. Maybe I can just slap it in B tier. Not exactly sure. Joltooth. Joltooth has the problem that's kind of like Tyrex food. It's Tundralin food, but it's still a okay mon. I'll put Joltooth in B tier. It's a fun mon, but like Tyrex and Tundralin kind of just sit on you. So yeah, that's kind of the problem for Joltooth, and it's slow in general. So B tier it is. Festifer is very bad too, but it's C plus. It's just weak to basically everything. Grass or plant and ice is really not a good typing, defensively at least. Wobblisk is somewhat usable. I'll put it B plus just because stuff like Wintrix and Zephalin, you do well versus those things. Delatrix is kind of scary now because they got all that new coverage with Thunderstrike or Jetstream, so there's that going for it. You generally need to run something like Oxydrake, Benelin, or Taoshinu for it. Those are kind of the best answers to it. But Bellatrix is solid mon. It's just very frail. I'll put it A minus. Colossotrops kind of just kills itself while trying to wall break, but doesn't even wall break because stuff like Tundralin just kind of sits on you. Chartiki does well versus you, so it's very hard to use this mod. I'll just put it in B tier as well. Yeah, basically B plus and above is kind of usable. B tier and below is very niche or just bad. Hoganosh, this got like buck up, but it's still bad. I don't know, just put B minus. Mocho is kind of a scary sweeper. I'll put Mocho B plus. Can actually sweep a lot of things because deep freeze, boom bash. You actually outspeed a lot of Scarfers with your speed after your speed boost, and so you can be threatening as a sweeper. So I would put Mocho B plus. Spreezy is I actually like the idea of Spreezy because I feel like it can do well. Mm, I feel like it's just most of the Loomians here just aren't kind to it. Stratos smacks it, Wintrix smacks it, T-Clip smacks it, Chartiki absolutely just blocks its recovery. You can do well, but Tiger's like Scapegoat, Valkyrie smacks it. You can kind of deal with Seer Knight, Revenant smacks it. There's just some like the ranged attackers you don't do well versus, and some of the physical attackers you're just meh versus, like this and this, like if Hunter runs Chili Chomp or Garlash smacks you with Vicious Snap, Top Jungle Jitsu, so I'll put you B tier. But you still have some things that you can do with like Sap Plant, Poison Barbs, Pestilence, Hypno Provoke, Talent Trade. Yeah. What else now? Nemore is kind of an okay-ish pivot. I'll put it probably B tier as well. It's not that great. Your snack, meh. Do I just put this B tier as well? Yep. Whipple Drift, probably B minus. Yeah, just go a bit faster through some of these. They're not that interesting. Zephalin, nice. It's better than Trumbull. Where I put Trumbull C plus, so it's going to B minus. Wendelin, it's got some coverage, but it's still meh. I'll put it in B tier. And no, I'll put it B minus. Struggles to break through stuff like T-clips. Just yeah, not good. Kirillin, I'll put. Where do I? Because if it lands, it's a strong breaker. I can put. I think I can actually put Kirillin in B plus. Like, oh, it's like if you land your moves, you can actually break through a lot of stuff with your ancient fire fighting coverage, and so because you also just have very strong damage output, so there's that going for Kirillin. Zephalin, this is definitely a scary mon. And hyper offense, I'll put this mon in A. It can kind of just peace of mind and break through a lot. Wintrix somewhat, I'll put it A minus. Wintrix definitely holds Zephalin back quite a bit, but Zephalin's a scary sweeper. Let's see, Venolin. Venolin is a decent ranged ball, probably put it A minus as well. It works well as kind of a Chartiki answer, just a blanket check to a lot of ranged attackers. It's like a Deladrix answer that you kind of need a lot of the time. So it's just a solid ranged wall. I'll put A minus. Cosmere encased now. This one is only good if you have the clever secret ability. It's really the only way you can make this mon good. Because if you have clever secret ability, Cosmere encased, you actually do quite a lot. And so for that reason, I'll put it A minus just because of that. But you can do quite a lot with clever SA, Cosmere, and Case, because with Regift, you can basically, if they're not Brain Freeze win tricks, then you kind of just sit on them because you can Peace of Mind in return. You sit on Chartiki because they can't even provoke you. Stratos or Tyrix will always smack you, same with Valkyrie, same with Seer Knight. It's really only good on stall. Maybe I'll put it into, yeah, I'll put it B plus just because it's only good on stall, I guess. Yeah, this mon's really only good on stall, but on stall, if you have secret ability, clever, Cosmere, and Case, it's really good. because you can sit on Zephalin somewhat. You can hypnotize it, and then Peace of Mind in return. You can't get provoked. Ferocious has the advantage that's unable to be, or that's not able to be provoked, and so that helps it out. It also completely blocks Gobademic barbs. Like Hyper Offense can't set barbs on you, and that's really useful. Cosmere Cracked, I guess, if is probably just a bit better. I'll put it A minus. Because it's more usable on balanced teams where it's not like as passive. It's pretty scary. You can run either Enchanted Coat or the secret ability to block Gobademic barbs. So I'll put that one at A minus. Cosmere Unleashed. You can kind of build. You have to build more of a team around it, but you got a lot of good abilities like Total Eclipse, Y and Y, so you can steal here from like some of the best Loomians in the meta. I'll just put it A minus here. Yeah, just to be objective, I guess these two forms are better than Cosmere Encased, but I still prefer Cosmere Encased just because Secret Ability is so strong, but technically these are better. Waka Laka, you have good coverage, and that's about most of what you have going for you. I'll just put it B minus tier. You have good coverage, but you're just slow and weak to a lot of stuff, so it's harder for you to break. Oxydrake, you have pretty good defensive utility. You can deal with, you can like check Garlash, Hunder. You do well versus Drakes. So I'll put it A minus too. It's another, you generally run it as a ranged ball, but also has some utility versus physical attackers. You deal with Wintrix well. Metatoad runs Mega Punch mainly for you. Pheroglyph has Boulder Blast, so it hits you, but you can also check Pheroglyph pretty well. You're just a decent mon. I'll put it A minus. Maybe it's A. I'll keep it A minus though. Wrestling's main problem is Barblast kind of smacks you. Wait, where is Barblast on? Is Barblast not even on this tier list? Oh, it is. There it is. Yeah, I'll just grab Barblast with Wrestling too. Okay. Barblast is great. I'll put Barblast A plus, I think. Yeah. Wrestling, I'll put A minus. Yeah. Problem with Wrestling. Do I put it? Yeah, I'll put it A minus. Wrestling's pretty strong, but Barblast kind of just absolutely sits on you. And Revenine, that's another reason for Revenine on more offensive teams. You serve as a Wrestling. You serve as a pretty good Wrestling answer. So I'll put Wrestling, yeah, I'll put it A minus. Yeah, it's probably maybe a bit better than this stuff. I don't know. Okay. This thing kind of sucks. I'll just put a B minus. Nevermare can do well. If you get your crits, then you do well. I'll put it B plus. Yeah, I'll just put it B plus. You can bulk up and actually crit through quite a lot of things. You have good coverage, so you hit basically everything, and you have a good speed tier. So that's something going for Nevermare. It's kind of similar to all the other looms in this tier. Harvest Sect, I'll probably also just put like B plus. It's usable, but it's not that great, especially like a non-Cephalops meta. Has okay defensive utility. And with Bulk Up, Driving Force, Parasitize, Earthquake, I think that's what most run. It's somewhat threatening as a Bulk Up sweeper. Tundralin, yeah, this is the guy that invalidates most physical attackers. I'll put you A tier for that. You can just kind of slap it on a team and you have a good answer to a lot of physical attackers. Like with Flame Pearl, you can deal with Volk. If you're running armor, you also just do better versus every other physical attacker in general. So you're A tier for that reason. Akalos is mainly just good for the Wintrix answer. It's probably the best Wintrix answer in the game since Wintrix can run Spatter for Seer Knight. I'll slap you into B tier, B plus tier, B tier. I'll just put you B tier. Okay, you do well versus Zephalin, you do well versus Wintrix, you do well versus Eruptodon, and that's about it, but that's something no other Loomian can really do, so you have a unique niche for that. But you're just not that good offensively. Stuff like Barblast can kind of sit on you. You can run Deep Freeze, but you're only doing like 35% anyway, unless you're running Smart Max Attack or Max Special Attack. So, yeah. Moving on to Snagoop. I'll just drag the rest of these Loomians here just so I don't have to go back down. Canbo, Samarine, Lumello, Sumobito. Okay, I think I got everything. Yep. And the rest of these are all irrelevant. You can have fun running Reptide or Strickle or whatever, or Bezeldew. Some of these could be maybe somewhat usable. Some of them might even be more usable than like Umbrat, but there's I'm just gonna do for the fully evolved. I think Snagoop's pretty decent. You have a nice speed tier. You can cripple things with Barter. Muck Blast is a very broken move. You just struggle to break through something like Stratosaur, but you don't mind like Ash bartering Stratosaur since with Immunize you don't even get burned yourself. So and Stratosaur will never know whether you're like immunized barter or if you just don't have an item. So you get pretty burning something like Stratosaur, and then you can kind of provoke it down. Provoke's another very useful move, so I'll put it in A minus for that reason. Uh, Flying and poison typing is pretty good. Tsukame is bad turtle, put it B tier. But it's okay. It's like a physical wall. You can kind of sit on a lot of things, but just use like Tundralin instead or Barblast. Other stuff kind of does its job better, but it has some viability. So I'll put it B tier for that reason. Banfinel's my favorite mon, basically. You can Sat Plant, Provoke, Dodge, Scapegoat. Basically, if they don't have a plant type, you instantly win the game with it. I'll put it B+, though. It's kind of cheese, but something like Chartiki will just forever wall you. Secret ability Cosmeors will sit on you. Things like with Regift. Malmer can kind of just sit on you. But besides that, if you manage to somehow get rid of those things, or if your opponent doesn't have one of those things, then Banfinel can be a very happy child. And you can kind of just win the game. It has good speed tier. So really, the only viable set is Sat Plant, Scapegoat, Dodge, Provoke. It's good cheese. I'll put Cannabo in A minus tier. With like a specialty boots, you're actually scary to a lot of hyper offense teams. It's really difficult to swap into without like a heavy armor, very robust Barblast. And so for that reason, it's quite a scary breaker. And I think it uses specialty boots pretty decently. But it just kind of struggles a lot to kind of get in, and yeah, it's very prediction reliant. So and Barblast, it won't really actually break through stall teams because you just run very robust armor Barblast and sit on this forever unless you're running plain shell or something. Samarine is a scary mon. I'll put an A minus tier as well. With Sharpen and yeah, you can kind of with Sharpen and Rev Up, you are a pretty good sweeper. You can sweep through a lot of hyper offense teams. You can run Rageful Plushie because you can live something like if you swap into like a Mud Spatter, you get Rageful Plushie, and then with Rev Up, you become pretty scary pretty quickly, and you have good coverage with Steel, Water, Electric, so you can threaten out a lot of things. Like Tundralin can still technically just beat you because Sharpen's only +1, and they can bulk up and then with Resilience. But you at least hit Tundralin super effective, so it's always good to be a physical attacker that can kind of hit Tundralin. Lumello is somewhat usable. It's only really a barb setter, I'll just put B minus. Sumo Beto would be minus as well. Boonari is good for like just copying. I'll put it A minus. It works mainly just on stall teams. On other playstyles, it's not really that great. It kind of stops the opponent from, or makes the opponent more wary of setting up. So, I mean, you're basically the best revenge killer in the game possible, but I guess Revenant's kind of more scary on its own, so yeah. You're a good revenge killer. So, I'll put Boonari A minus for that. Lyricat, you're basically a faster Mewtwo with Magnify, but you do less damage. I'll put you in the same tier. Elephage, I'll put B plus, I guess. Yeah, with like malware, the robust malware set, you can sit on some physical attackers, and with Nimble, you have decent ability to revenge. No, I guess you're only B tier. You're not that great. Taushino only good for roll compression. Answer is Delatrix, and it can get rid of Seer Barbs in one Loomian, and not much else can do that, but or well, nothing else can actually do those two things. And so that's the only thing you're really good for, but you're just very passive. You get sat on by everything. I'll put you in B tier. Because if you run Teardown, which is like the main reason to run it, then you're running what bulk up body slam, like mono typeless. You're just not great. You get sat on by like Tundralin, almost any steel type. Yeah, it's not ideal. I think that's it. So let me know if you agree with this tier list or if what any Loomian should be placed higher or lower. I think overall this looks pretty good. Yeah. Okay. This is a very stacked like A minus tier and B plus tier. These Loomians are all pretty close here. But yeah. Okay. Goodbye.